Okay, so I think we can start. We waited enough. I'm sure there will be some more people joining a bit late. So hi everyone. Thanks for joining this event. Where we're going to talk about blockchain for non-techies. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a very short introduction to the Tesseract Academy and Marcel before Marcel is going to start. This is the website of the Tesseract Academy. Our mission is to help decision makers implement and understand technology faster, easier, and better. We're primarily focused on data science, AI, and blockchain. We work with companies of all sizes, and we specialize in what we call the soft parts of technology, be it data strategy, data maturity, or things like tokenomics. But we also deal with R&D and implementation. We operate a network of experts with different levels of expertise in different subjects, from data science to blockchain to AI ethics to project management to fintech to product. And we organize many events on these themes, as well as running paid workshops and courses. Our focus is primarily on non-technical decision makers, that is the individuals that want to work with the technology, but they're not technologists themselves. They don't want to learn how to write code because they don't have to. Okay, and me personally, who I'm going to be also the moderator of this session. I'm the CEO of the company. I spent most of my career in data science and AI, and a very good chunk in the space of blockchain. I was actually one of the very first people to take tokenomics seriously as a field. So if you Google tokenomics, you're probably going to find my name still in the first page on Google. And half of my career has been about simplifying technology. I have one foot in academia, but I've also published a book, which, if you're interested in the topic of data science and you're non-technical, I'm sure you're going to find very useful. Just shoot me over an email and I will be more than happy to share it with you. And here are some of the entrepreneurs that have worked with us, some of their testimonials, but also here are some of the companies. So as you see, we've worked with sole entrepreneurs all the way to huge companies like Vodafone or Lloyd's or British Land, or even the US Navy, which is probably our coolest client. And we organize workshops and courses, but we also provide consulting services on any of the aforementioned areas. So make sure to visit our website to learn more. So today's topic is around blockchain for non-techies, and we're very happy to have with us Dr. Marcel Müller, who is a German deep tech entrepreneur, researcher, and consultant. He has a PhD in computer science, a lot of experience in the area of blockchain. I'll let him speak more about himself shortly. Today's session, a few of the practicalities is there's going to be a 15-20 minute presentation and then an open Q&A. And I'd like to state that this is essentially a taster for a full workshop. You can register for the full workshop, which is going to take place in the next few months on the link which I just shared. The full workshop does not have a set date. That's why you just see multiple dates. Just book a ticket and then you can decide. We're going to decide, like all of us together with Marcel, which day and time is the most appropriate. It's going to be held over Zoom. And the objective of the workshop is to completely demystify blockchain and to really go deep into it so you understand and come up with a full implementation plan of how you could use blockchain in your particular scenario, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're a big organization. So that being said, enough about me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll hand over to Marcel. The stage is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, man. So I'm very happy and excited that so many people came and showed up today for this first little webinar that we are doing on blockchain for business processes, especially targeted to, as Stiliano said, as for decision makers and non-techies. Thanks for the short introduction about me. I'm currently the managing director of a German deep tech company called Jaden-X, located here in the heart of Berlin. We are doing basically blockchain development and consulting services. We have our own products that we are selling, and we say we are positioned not in the, let's say, in the traditional blockchain world with where you would say in finance and decentralized finance. No, we are using blockchain for other business processes and making them more trustworthy. Trust is a big topic for me, and that's also how I came to blockchain in the very beginning. I had the PhD thesis. My PhD thesis was about trusted business processes with distributed ledger technologies, so blockchain and other related technologies. worked across industry and academia around the world, and have a similar focus on blockchain and AI, and especially on business process management. Because I think that's the part that you really need to focus on when you want to bring innovation projects to life. You need to focus on a business process with a problem, with a value that is being generated, and to make this better, create other business opportunities out of it, and not just nerd out about tech. And that's why the approach that we are taking here a little bit today, because over the past couple of years, after talk with Stylianos recently, we realized that they are basically right now two distinct blockchain worlds, if you want to say it like that. The one hand is what I call the hype world. This here is a screenshot of Crypto Panic. That's a news aggregator for crypto related stuff. So, you know, your tokens going up and down here and there, a stable coin that is collapsing, NFTs of apes selling for 2 million euros, and all that stuff that, you know, me as an entrepreneur find quite interesting, but, you know, it feels a little bit far from the average man's life at the moment, at least here in Germany. So at the other parts of the world, it's a little bit different. It's interesting to be on there and to be a part of the crypto community, but you see there's a lot of hype driving it, right? The crypto world is always between despair and ecstasy somewhere, and some was breaking sometimes mainstream news. That is one world that exists. I don't say it's bad, I don't say it's good. It's a world that exists, and it's a world that exists, let's say, next to the enterprise world that has been also slowly tapped into blockchain. I'm saying here blockchain, not crypto. Blockchain as a technology for making their business better, to create new use cases in their business, and yeah, help them expand. And these are two different worlds that coexist and that sometimes get mixed up. And the distinguishing between them is sometimes very blurry. But if you understand both worlds, you can really harness the technology. So the hype world is often reflected in like the exchange rate of certain tokens or coins. I have here the exchange rate in from Bitcoin, and you can see here a little bit of the hype cycle. So in 2017, 18, there was around Christmas time. I remember the time very intensely. I think also a few maybe, where you know, Bitcoin was the first time in the mainstream news, because it was in a couple of months gaining a lot of value due to, you know, speculation, due to certain developments that were there in the world. You see that the market of this, you know, cryptocurrency, as it is, goes up and down. There are certain cycles, and right now we are at some sort of a crypto winter, with a lot of people selling their assets, and the market capitalization dropping, of course. So that's there. These circles are there. They're going up and down and up again. Right now we are down, but don't worry, at some point in time it will be sure up at some point again. But on the other hand, the enterprise world does not really, you know, adhere to these circles, because there is, across the industry and across other more traditional technology users, like governments, there is a big plan to invest into blockchain. A lot of people already in the blockchain space from a technology perspective, or not from a crypto investment perspective. So here I found some statistics that 74% of the respondents of a certain survey, I think this was Dow Jones listed companies who are somewhere in consumer products and manufacturing, have experimented either with the implementation of blockchain or have already something in production. We have here today a lot of people in energy. Also there's a lot of use cases for blockchain. Governments understand also the value. And this projection here of the, let's say, the enterprise blockchain market, that of course does not have like the market capitalization based on hype, but basically based on what the enterprise environment does and how it grows, that is projected to be steadily growing and not really as volatile as here. And that's why I think the enterprise world is very interesting and something to look out for. In the end, when we are talking about an enterprise and about business, we need some sort of a tool set on how to analyze blockchain, decide if we want to use it, and in the end, build a product that we bring in the hands of real-world customers and make a real-world business value. And this is what we are talking today in this workshop a little bit about how can we as business leaders really make real value out of disruptive technology. And therefore, that's my key, the knowledge that I want to convey in this small webinar today. You need to understand 3 different things. When you actually need a blockchain, what a blockchain does and what a blockchain doesn't, and how you can create and operate these kind of blockchain systems. So, to describe when you need a blockchain, there is a very long, very complex sentence that we will break down in a second. But if you want to push it in one sentence, you need a blockchain when you have 2 or more businesses who only trust each other to a limited extent in a joint business process where they need to agree on a certain piece of information with no single party in control of it. So that's quite a lot. Let's take an example to break that a little bit down. I have here an example of a very prominent use case outside of the finance world, that is supply chain management. The picture that I've drawn here is what we call a collaborative business process, where we have different parties, the 3 logistics companies and the sender and the receiver, who are working in the same business process. And the goal of that business process is to bring a package with some sort of high value good from Berlin here in Germany to Milano in Italy. I put here Alice and Bob. Think of a very simple example. Alice wants to send Bob some beer from Berlin. I don't know, some craft beer or something that is only available here. He's giving it to the post office and telling him, hey, here are glass bottles in my package. Please do not drop that thing. Otherwise, you need to pay me for my beer. Yeah? Alice is giving that package over to Deutsche Post, so the German post office. Deutsche Post is driving it through half of Germany and giving it over to DHL. DHL was flying it across to Switzerland and giving it at the border to Italy to Poste Italiane, the Italian state-owned post that brings it to Bob. So in the end, Bob sees that someone dropped his package and he wants to know now who is responsible for that. And that you can take somebody responsible in a business process. You need to have information that you can rely on, and then where you can agree on. And not one party says, no, it was like that, and the other one says, no, but it was like that. So that's the 3rd puzzle piece that we need for, or that is constituting a situation where a blockchain would make sense. And the 4th part is that you don't have a single centralized party in full control. And in that process here, that makes sense for a lot of different reasons. So think about a situation where Deutsche Post would just host somewhere a database and a service and a server saying, okay, we are tracking who gives the package when and where to which party and when something got lost, but we are managing that database. Since Deutsche Post would be the one managing that database centrally, they can always, modify that database and modify it in their favor. So, if you would be Deutsche Post and you wanted to cheat and want to screw the others over, even though when you drop the package and all the beer is gone, you could say, no, I wasn't it. I'm just changing the database and saying DHL was already in part. And this is a situation where it is not a good idea to have a single party in full control, because there might be different forces and different incentives going through them. So we have these 4 elements. We have different parties in a collaborative business process. And in this business process, we have critical information that need to be agreed on with no single party in control. And when we have a situation like that, we can generally use a blockchain. Yeah, or it would make sense to use a blockchain. You can always use the blockchain for whatever, but we want to make like real world business with a real world value proposition that is useful. And what the blockchain really does is it creates a tamper-proof shared audit trail of information and the interactions between different parties according to rules on how you can modify this information. So that's really what I want you all to kind of memorize. It's like blockchain, it's not about cryptocurrency. It's one application of it, yeah? But it's really about creating a tamper-proof shared audit trail of your interactions. Cryptocurrency, the shared audit trail is who sent who which money. In other business processes, this might be different. If we go back to our example from now, the tamper-proof audit trail that we are creating here could be who is giving over the responsibility of our parcel to somebody else. So today at 10:30, Deutsche Post handed over the parcel to DHL. At 4 hours later, DHL handed over the parcel to Poste Italiane, and Poste Italiane then will deliver it tomorrow or has delivered it at some point. We are storing this information through transactions on the blockchain. And since there are crypto mechanisms and there's a consensus behind it, we can be sure that everything that was ever on the blockchain cannot be reverted. It cannot be, deleted like someone in the centralized database can just say, okay, we are deleting that this little doozy here happened. And this is creating basically a tamper-proof audit trail because everything is ordered in a linear timeline on what we were interacting and what we were doing on the blockchain. And you can put pieces of programming logic on that blockchain to enforce certain rules. And the definition of these rules are what we are calling a smart contract. So, for example, in our business process here, one rule would be you cannot give over a package or the responsibility of a package to somebody else if the other person is, or if the other organization is not, acknowledging that. So I cannot just say, okay, here, take my parcel, Poste Italiane, you are responsible for it now. And Poste Italiane says, no, you already dropped that parcel, all the beer is gone. All the glasses are broken. I'm not going to take over. And these things are rules that we can define on the programming way with smart contracts. So, and then we are at the how we are building such systems and how we are maintaining them. And the key thing to have there is you are not, you're not buying a blockchain solution like you are buying a Salesforce system, right? You are not going to a single vendor who's saying, okay, I'm running the blockchain for you. There's some people who try to do that, but I would, give that a little bit more of thought. Usually a blockchain is operated by a consortium of different parties that have an interest that their business process is trustworthy. And they are engaging in actions that are validating rules, are validating transaction, and look that everything is as it's supposed to be. And this network, that's the core difference, is a peer-to-peer network. So not a network where you would have a centralized authority managing basically your information, but where you have a set of different parties who have to create a consensus over the piece of information. And that's also important that these blockchain systems are only helpful or useful or trustworthy as long as you don't have a majority conspiring to cheat the system. Still much better than in a centralized version, if you talk about that, because then one party could basically screw over the whole system. And here you just have to think about the dynamics and the instrumentalization of different parties behind it. And these are basically the three questions that you need to have a general understanding of. So we know when we need a blockchain, what a blockchain does. And now we want to know how we are building applications with a blockchain, right? We are business owners. We want to create a new product that we are building, getting in the hand of customers that are paying us for that product. So we need to know how we do that. And over the last couple of years, I created with my team, and I published a lot of scientific papers and also books about the process on, creating blockchain applications from a process perspective. So the first thing I always advise everybody before you talk about blockchain or NFTs or tokens or whatever is, what is your business process? Get ahead of what are you trying to do? Who are the parties who are interacting? In our case of the supply chain management example, the sender, receiver, and a couple of carriers. Think about what are the activities they are doing, how they are interacting with each other, and where are the crucial points that you have to trust somebody. And trust is a key focus point of the whole application that is centered around blockchain. I always recommend to draw a process diagram. It's a methodology that I do when I do, consulting or solution creation. I always talk with my customers and with my clients about their process. Having it in front of you, that you see where are the problems, that you can make here a little circle and say, okay, if this party later says, okay, what happened here didn't happen, then I have a problem. And once we identify these problems, we can use blockchain trust patterns to mitigate these issues. So we don't have time today to get too deep into blockchain trust patterns, but it's basically working like an engineer. You have an issue that you want to solve, you have a tool to solve it, and you need to implement it in a way that you don't open up other issues. But you can do this in a very engineering fashion with blockchain-based trust patterns. And in the end, you have to think about, how you are implementing the system. There's smart contracts, there is blockchain nodes, but enterprise systems, they consist of much more things than just, a blockchain and smart contracts and a wallet. There's other systems, there's centralized systems, there's different modes of authenticating and authorizing. There is other data that you want to put into your blockchain system. You cannot just put everything in a blockchain and think it magically happens. So you have to do a proper system architecture definition. You have to see how these things are interacting and create step by step, a whole architecture that has somewhere a blockchain, but it's focused on delivering the value to the business process first. Blockchain trust patterns is something that I published quite a lot about. Here is 4 blockchain trust patterns. There are more. There's also different ones that I probably don't know yet, or nobody has come up with yet. That I want to just give you a quick teaser about. So the first pattern that we are talking about is a tamper-proof hash storage. So if you want to show that you have a piece of data and that data was not modified and you had the piece of data on a very specific point in time, you can create a hash of that piece of data, whatever it is, and put it on the blockchain. Then you have basically, since you are putting your signature to it, you have basically a proof and said, hey, I had this picture here. Let's say, yeah, take a picture. I had this picture here at the 10th of June. I've taken it, I created a hash, and I put it on the blockchain, and you can later see if nobody was tampering with that picture. So think about, I don't know, you are having a car accident, you are taking a picture and saying, okay, this was here on the 11th of July, and the other person wants to say, no, it was on the 15th, because then I can just get my insurance afterwards, which is not part of insurance. But with that, you can basically prove that a piece of data was existing at a certain point in time. The second trust pattern is the transparent event log. And that was the supply chain use case that you have just seen. We are storing the events. I am handing over a parcel to another person, and I'm storing this event on the blockchain. I'm providing my signature and say, yes, this is exactly what has happened. And later, nobody can deny it. Smart contract activities are for the rules of, or we have also seen that in our example, that you cannot hand over a package to someone who's not acknowledging it. And the fourth pattern is what I call a blockchain-based process engine, where you can basically use this decentralized state machine that you have there to integrate different parts of processes. So, and these blockchain trust patterns are basically, you can see it as a toolbox that you are using to build your blockchain trust applications. We don't have time to get into them into detail today, but we have also a follow-up workshop where we are talking specifically and in detail about how to use them. I would really like to close a bit on the note that we were talking here about a business process. We're not talking about finance. We're not talking about DeFi. We're not talking about tokens. We're not talking about NFTs. Yeah? These are all different technical parts that you can use to build a business process with a blockchain. And you can do that across many applications. Finance is only one application for it. Supply chain management, the example that we have here is actually an example that I've worked in a real world business case with my company together with actually the Italian Post to make exactly that case happen. Energy is also something where I've been working quite a long time and where we have a lot of people in the audience today. Energy systems, decentralized trading, with our energy, let's say the governance perspective behind our energy world changing with all renewables, with here a windmill and here a solar power plant. It's not by a centralized party anymore, but by many, many different ones. There's also a need for trust, and the processes get more complex, and blockchain can help us to tackle this process. Mobility is also one of the use cases, or generally like cases where you have different conglomerates working together, and governance, especially data governance, has been something that I've been working lately a lot with. The company is producing a product that lets you track on the blockchain who is allowed to do something with your data and to enforce it through a lot of, let's say, more complex mechanisms, trusted execution environments, decentralized cloud computing, and so on. But in the end, it's an agreement in a business process where you have many different parties who only trust each other to a limited extent, but need to rely on information and later not deny that something that was said was not said. So with that, I'm kind of through with my initial presentation. We are planning a longer workshop, and date is not really fixed yet, to dive deep into the tool set that I was showing today, where you learn more in detail on practical examples, how to use them, how to get into different things, different use cases, different applications in different industries, and and also a little bit more into the basics of what a blockchain is. We have not talked about wallets and cryptography and hashes and ZK snarks right now, but we're also working to get a little bit deeper into these fundamentals to an extent that it helps us from a business perspective. Julianus and myself and our companies are providing consulting and solution architecture, and especially my company also end-to-end development and consulting of blockchain projects, implementing them end-to-end, bringing them from a piece of paper, from a business process to the real world, and and making real impact in the real world. This is my contact data. Feel free to write me an email. You can scan the QR code for LinkedIn. I'm very happy to engage there. We have a lot of different things that we are doing in the NFT space, also in energy, in supply chain management, in finance. A lot of things that are going on, all very cool, all very interesting. And what I'm also very interested about now is you. What do you think? What is coming to your mind? What would you like to dive deeper in? And what do you think about this a little bit different take on a blockchain technology that we've been talking about today?
Thank you, Marcel. I think there are a few questions. Someone asking about asking about what? Sorry, I lost the question. About COP, how blockchain can contribute to address environmental concerns.
Environmental concerns. Okay. Yes. So you have at the one hand, people who are telling you that the blockchain per se is bad for the environment. And people who are giving you a statement like that are mostly referring to a consensus mechanism, proof of work, that is one of many consensus mechanisms that are used today. That is very energy intensive. In let's say in a proof of work, there's a bunch of different computers who have to do a computer program to create a certain hash. Let's not go too deep into that, to make the blockchain secure and to validate these transactions and reach consensus. There's other consensus mechanisms that do not require proof of work and that are much more energy efficient. That's the use about how sustainable an energy a blockchain per se is. What you can use a blockchain for to make energy the energy field or make something more sustainable is by introducing trust to certain processes. For example, certificates of carbon emissions, right? You usually have decentralized parties who are giving it out, and sometimes these things are not so trustworthy as they are. Having a blockchain behind a consortium where different people are, validating what has been going on and are attesting different things, that's something where a blockchain could help. Many other use cases, across the whole thing of renewable energy, about new alternative forms of energy, decentralized energy systems, trading, and so on. That's where I think blockchain can have a lot of impact in terms of sustainability. I hope that answers your question. I could speak an hour over that, but feel free if you want to have know more, that also get in contact with me.
There's also a question on shipping companies and applications of blockchain on supply chains.
Yeah, B2C shipping. Interesting question. So I know a couple of use cases where luxury brands are showing the origin of their goods. So for example, think about something like a Gucci bag or a diamond ring or so. You want to be these companies in the B2B sector, since you're asking, George, they want to show that their diamond ring that you can buy at Tiffany's is not coming from a blood diamond mine somewhere in Congo. There's been a lot of controversy about it 5 years ago about the workers' conditions in these kind of mines. And I know quite a lot of projects that are doing basically origin tracking, where you can, when you buy a ring from Tiffany's, you can see what route it went across the world, right? It came from a shipping container in the Netherlands, and it was initially shipped in Cape Town, South Africa, and it was mined somewhere there. Where you can really trace it to the origin and validate something about that's it's coming from where someone claims it comes from, not somewhere else. Great point, great question.
One more question: any experience of physical security companies, electronic access controls, video surveillance? But I think also Guido is raising his hand. I'm not sure if you have.
Oh yeah, let's go with Guido first. Yeah. Guido, please.
Okay, just like since you've been talking about like consortia and that they were responsible for validating, something I understand, like talking with experts here and also consultancies, well, I have to say, especially in Germany, apparently like the main use case for companies in blockchains is to use some kind of not a public blockchain, a private blockchain. So that like this consortia structure is really between companies. How do you see, like, where's the future going? Are companies mostly being using private blockchains or public blockchains, or maybe adapting some characteristics of a public blockchain like transparency, but still for the rest keeping it public, since it's the technology and the process of the company that being they're being responsible for?
That's a very great and quite controversial question. So you have private blockchains for many different reasons, because people don't want to just have everything public about what they are doing in their business. We're talking about it before. Every transaction that you do to a blockchain will be on that blockchain until the blockchain dies. So if you are buying today Bitcoin and you are getting in this public Bitcoin network, you are setting up on your computer and nodes, you can basically trace every transaction of every Bitcoin that has ever been made since 2009. So we are here in Europe, and privacy, and not only privacy towards the consumer, but also regarding business secrets. This is a little bit counterintuitive, that you cannot just delete something, or that you cannot hide something that has been in the blockchain. That was one of the main reasons that we had these private blockchains in the first place, and also the governance structure behind it. I think there are currently right now a lot of, let's say, privacy preserving technologies that are at the edge to mass adoption. Something like zero knowledge proofs, ZK snarks, homomorphic encryption, secure multi-party computation. They are quite complex and advanced crypto. And I think there will be, in the next couple of years, a lot of these new technological innovation coming into the blockchain world, and creating completely new blockchains that have different privacy, settings. And I think at some point in time, this will influence heavily these consortium and these private blockchains, and make their different arguments if you need now really a private blockchain, or if the privacy issue is already addressed by a zero knowledge proof or a ZK snark, or whatever you want to use. I think this is something that will really evolve over time. Currently, you see both, but you're right, Guido, you see mostly consortium private blockchains in these kind of business setups. My personal opinion is there will be a change. It will take some time, and it will be somewhere in between.
Thanks.
Cool.
Perfect.
So now let's go to Angela. Any experience on physical security companies, electronic access control, video surveillance, leveraging blockchain? Oh, that's a good question. I have not personally engaged with any. Let's say, when we're talking about security, you mean, I think, people who do, especially electronic access control, surveillance, and so. So I have so far not worked personally with one, but I could think about the integrity perspective that is interesting for them. So we're talking about this tamper-proof hash storage pattern, which is basically taking a piece of data, putting a timestamp to it, and putting it in the blockchain. And you could, for example, use it in surveillance, that you say, okay, I'm taking here a picture of my front entrance every hour, or you have a specific situation where you caught a thief right in the act, a burglar trying to break in, and you are timestamping this image, you are hashing it, and you're putting it on a blockchain. And with that, you can basically prove that this picture has been, taken at maximum that point in time. So that's a use case that I generally see. I find it very interesting. I personally have not worked with anybody in that sector yet, but I think if you are working in that sector and you're thinking about it, I think that could be a quite interesting thing to explore. So feel free to get in touch with me later if you want to go there a little bit deeper.
Perfect. There's, I think we have time for one or two more questions. There's one by Otto.
Good. Is the number of blockchain experts, especially software, a potential bottleneck to rapid adoption? If so, what needs to change to overcome? Common protocols, regulations, better UIs, all of it. All of it. These first of all, these webinars that we are making today is, of course, not looking into software experts, but also into the business experts, to give you guys a little bit of a better understanding of what this technology is, Like, it's not urban voodoo. It's not something that you have to be a crypto maximalist or hodler and own Bitcoins and be in all Discord channels for. That's what we are trying to address here. I think, yes, blockchain experts are very much in demand right now. Just, you know, think about 2001 and who was writing back then websites, who was developing websites. Actually, back then, you needed to have coders who get into HTML and CSS and also a little bit of JavaScript to just build a website where you can present stuff on the internet. Today, go to Squarespace or to Webflow or to anything, everybody without even the knowledge of computer science can do that. And I think this path of adoption of maturity in the software part will also be something that will happen in blockchain. But right now, we are completely not there yet. I completely agree with you. There's a lot of things, and there is currently a bottleneck that might, you know, hold the enterprise adoption a little bit back. I see a lot of people who are in the crypto space, but the market for enterprise blockchain developers and putting that into a real bigger system, what we are doing here, is quite limited. So yeah, absolutely, that could handle enterprise adoption. Good. We have another question, right, Stylianos?
Yeah, I think maybe we have time for one more, like 5 more minutes.
Which one do you want to pick? Please pick one. Maybe Udo, right?
Okay,
so,
first come, first served.
First come, first served. Have blockchain proofs been used already at court cases? Like you mentioned, the case if the partners are not willing to take responsibility of the beer, not having it received by the guy in Italy. Good question. First of all, there is a lot of legal stuff going on with blockchain right now, and especially here in Germany, people in the legal world do not really know what to do with that blockchain thing, because it is basically, you know, a new paradigm and a new way to handle data, and a new way of trust and handling something for it. I personally have not been involved or do not know any court cases or where they have been to solve, but you can really see what you put there on the blockchain. And you can put that into a contract, into a real world contract between two businesses and say, yeah, if we put this transaction of someone handed over the beer to another one in Italy, if we put that on a blockchain, all these parties and the consensus is not fading and everything is all right, then all the parties are agreeing that, you know, this is the case. And if it goes to court, then what on the blockchain is, this is what in the end will hold up. If these parties who are in a traditional contractual relationship agree on that, that would make, you know, everything much easier. And I think this is one of the key benefits that this technology has. One of my close friends is calling it basically the blockchain is a big, you know, trustworthy accounting system, and that's really what it is, and that's also why the bigger term for it is a distributed ledger, because it's exactly what it is. Ideally, in the end, this would be just, you know, out of the box that you can go with court to these cases, and what on the blockchain is there. But you know, there's more things that you need to address. And right now, I would suggest, if you want to really make your business process better, just bake the blockchain into an existing contract that you have, or into a real, like in a real physical contract, and take it from there. Cool.
Perfect. I think this brings us pretty much to the end. So as we mentioned, there's a workshop that we're going to host online within the next few months. I posted the link on the chat for everyone to see. There's also a promo code, which is valid only for today, so make sure to reserve your ticket. Mind you, you're going to see multiple dates and times, but the workshop is not on a set date. So we will just decide on the date and the time along with Marcel and the rest of the participants, because we want to make sure that everyone can participate. Also, make sure to text me to email me to the email. I'm just going to share with you. You want a copy of my book, The Decision Maker's Handbook to Data Science. And we hope to see you all soon. Okay, just to add, someone just made a slight addition, is implementing. Yeah, I think probably carbon and green energy is going to be one of the top 3 applications in the next bull run, just based on what we're seeing right now.
Also working on the carbon tracking application now myself. So Seb, if you want to get in touch, you have my contact details. Feel free to shoot me.
Cool. Perfect. So thanks, everyone. We hope to see you to the final workshop, and we will also be following up with a recording of this event. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.